Graphing nonlinear functions, lesson 11-5. Our vocabulary for this lesson, our first vocabulary word is a quadratic function. It is a function based on squaring the input variable. In other words, squaring x. The graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. Obviously, I have a spelling error there. A cubic function is based on cubing the variable, or cubing x. Please take your time to copy down these vocabulary definitions. They're also in the back of your textbook. You can pause the video at this time to finish your vocab. Example 1. Graphing a quadratic function. For the function y equals negative 2x squared, make a table with integer values for x from negative 2 to 2. Then graph the function. Here's our table. We have our x's, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, and we've substituted in for our form in our function of y equals negative 2x squared. So y equals negative 2 times negative 2 squared, then y equals negative 2 times negative 1 squared, y equals negative 2 times 0 squared, y equals negative 2 times 1 squared, and y equals negative 2 times 2 squared. So our xy values are going to be negative 2, negative 8, negative 1, negative 2, 0, 0, 1, negative 2, and 2, negative 8. Pause the video at this time to finish completing your table. Now we're going to graph it. For negative 2, negative 8, we graph that point. For negative 1, negative 2, again we graph the point. 0, 0, 1, negative 2, and 2, negative 8. Now, this is actually a parabola. You might want to refer to your textbook to see a better drawing of it. Mine is hand-drawn and not done very well. But in your textbook, for lesson 11-5, you can see some very nicely drawn parabolas. Pause the video at this time to finish this example. Example 2, graphing a quadratic function. For the function y equals x cubed. This is actually a cubic function. We're going to make a table with integer values of x from negative 2 to 2. Then we're going to graph the function. Here's our table completed. We have our values for x, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. And we have our function filled in, where y equals x cubed. So y equals negative 2 cubed, y equals negative 1 cubed, y equals 0 cubed, y equals 1 cubed, and y equals 2 cubed. So our values for x, y are going to be negative 2, negative 8, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 8. Please pause the video at this time so that you can finish your table. Now we're going to graph these points. Here's negative 2, negative 8 graphed, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 8. You can see that a cubic function has a definite different look to it. It's not a parabola. Pause the video at this time to finish this slide. Let's do quick check number 1. Graphing a quadratic function. For the function y equals negative x squared, make a table with integer values for x from negative 2 to 2. Then graph the function. Let's complete the table. For x, we have negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Now we substitute those in the function y equals negative x squared. So y equals negative 2 squared. Then y equals negative 1 squared. Then y equals negative 0 squared. Then y equals negative 1 squared. And then y equals negative 2 squared. So for our values of x, y, we're going to have negative 2, negative 4, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, and 2, negative 4. Pause the video at this point so you can complete your table. Now we're going to graph the points. Negative 2, negative 4 would be right here. Negative 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, and 2, negative 4. Again, connect your points into a parabola. Again, I would strongly urge you to look in the book to see better examples of how to draw the actual parabola. Mine's a little shaky. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to complete this example. Let's complete quick check 1b. Graphing a quadratic function for the function y equals negative 1/4 x squared. Make a table with the integer values for x, negative 2 to 2, then graph the function. Our table will look like this. For x, again, we have negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. For our function column, we have y equals negative 1/4 x squared. So we have y equals negative 1/4 negative 2 squared. Then we have y equals negative 1/4 times negative 1 squared. Then we have y equals negative 1/4 times 0 squared. Next we have y equals negative 1/4 times 1 squared. And finally, y equals negative 1/4 times 2 squared. For our x values, we have negative 2, for our coordinates, we have negative 2, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1/4, 0, 0, 1, negative 1/4, and 2, negative 1. Please pause the video at this time to complete your table. Now we're going to graph the points. Negative 2, negative 1 would be here, negative 1, negative 1/4 here, 0, 0, 1, negative 1/4, and 2, negative 1. Again, you could draw in the parabola. Pause the video at this time to finish this example. We're not going to be graphing a quadratic function, but this is actually a cubic function. For the function y equals 3x cubed, make a table with integer values for x from negative 2 to 2, then graph the function. Here's our table. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. We have our function of y equals 3x cubed. So we have y equals 3 times negative 2 cubed, then y equals 3 times negative 1 cubed, then y equals 3 times 0 cubed, y equals 3 times 1 cubed, and finally y equals 3 times 2 cubed. For our x values, we have negative 2, negative 24, our coordinates, negative 2, negative 24. We have negative 1, negative 3, 0, 0, 1, 3, and 2, 24. Pause the video if you need more time to complete your table. Now we're going to graph the points. 2, negative 24 would be off our graph, so we can't graph it. But we can graph 1, negative 3. There it is. 0, 0 is also on the graph. And finally, 1, 3 is on the graph. 2, 24 would not be on the graph. And then we would connect our line and make our graph. Again, I strongly urge you to look in your textbook in 11-5 so that you can get a better idea of how these are drawn. We're not going to complete quick check 2b because that's the same exact example we did for the first cubic function. Pause the video if you need more time to complete. You've finished lesson 1105. I challenge you to go to the online quiz at phschool.com and the web code is BJA1105. Take the quiz and see how well you do. If you need extra help, there's a video tutorial from the textbook. The web code for it is BJE1105. I hope you enjoyed the last of these lessons, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a good evening.